crystalline halls of the Galactic Administrative Core hummed with quiet efficiency, their polished surfaces reflecting the soft glow of holographic displays. Data streams flickered between towering pillars, carrying population statistics from every corner of the Federation. Senior Archivist Zixlith of the Vexian Collective moved through the chamber on silent talons, his segmented carapace clicking softly against the floor. His four manipulator arms adjusted the projection before him, mandibles twitching as he reviewed the latest universal census update. Fascinating, he murmured to himself, tapping one claw against the glowing interface. The report scrolled past trillions of lives, reduced to neat columns and categories. His compound eyes focused on one particular entry near the bottom, Homo sapiens. Status, probably extinct category Phae. Last confirmed activity, Phae standard cycles ago. A soft chittering escaped him. The humans, he remembered them, small, soft things with their pitiful 2 arms and fragile skin. No natural armor, no venomous spines, not even basic bioluminescence. The galaxy hadn't been surprised when they'd vanished. Archivist. A younger Vexian scuttled up, her antennae quivering with excitement. The High Council requests verification of the extinction classifications before the next fiscal allocation. Zixlith gestured to the projection. It's all here. The Tharxians upgraded to Category Phae after their colony expansion. The Grithal Collective dropped to Category Phae following their civil war, and the humans. He tapped the entry again. Well, they solved themselves, didn't they? The junior archivist peered at the data. No survivors, no last transmissions, nothing. Zixlith's mandibles spread in what passed for a smile among his kind. They barely achieved rudimentary FTL before they disappeared. No planetary shields, no energy weapons, primitive fission reactors, if you can believe it. He flicked the entry aside. Frankly, I'm amazed they lasted as long as they did. Across the chamber, a hulking Zepyrian delegate snorted, his armored plates rattling. I told the council not to grant them observer status, waste of resources. You can't civilize prey animals. Zixlith inclined his head in agreement. Their home system was quarantined after the Antares conflict. Radiation levels suggested a catastrophic failure of their nuclear infrastructure. He pulled up an old surveillance image, a blue-green planet scarred by fire. We assumed they'd finally managed to obliterate themselves, typical mammalian recklessness. The junior archivist hesitated. Shouldn't we send a probe, confirm the extinction? Budgetary constraints. Zixlith said smoothly. Category Phae species don't warrant active investigation besides. He called up another file, this one showing grainy footage of a human warship exploding during the Antares skirmishes. Their so-called United Earth Space Navy was obliterated in that engagement. No survivors, no distress calls, just silence. The Zepyrian chuckled, a deep, grinding sound. Pathetic. They barely scratched our hulls before dying. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. The holograms flickered as the system processed another data update. Zixlith absently checked the new entries. Routine planetary population adjustments. Nothing noteworthy. Then a flicker of red at the edge of his display caught his attention. Odd. He zoomed in on the anomaly. The human entry had changed. For a fraction of a second, the probably extinct designation had flickered to something else. He couldn't quite make it out before it reverted. System glitch? The junior archivist asked. Must be. Zixlith ran a diagnostic. These old archives haven't been properly maintained since the coreward expansion. He dismissed the alert. Still, it's almost poetic, isn't it? The humans wiped from the galaxy without anyone noticing. Not even a footnote in the Grand. The hologram exploded with light. Every display in the chamber flashed crimson as alarms shrieked through the administrative complex. Zixlith stumbled back, his carapace vibrating with the intensity of the alert. Breach in the central data hub. A Vorak technician screeched from her monitoring station, something's accessing the core files. Zixlith scrambled to pull up the security feed. The image showed the innermost sanctum of the Census Bureau, a vaulted chamber where the master population records were stored. The doors were sealed. The defenses were active. And yet, look. The junior archivist gasped. A shadow moved across the feed. Not a physical presence. A distortion in the air, like heat haze. It drifted toward the central console. The security systems didn't react. The motion sensors didn't trigger. Then the master text scrolled across it in jagged, unfamiliar glyphs. Zixlith's blood ran cold. He recognized that script, ancient, angular, brutal in its simplicity. Human writing, the message resolved into galactic standard, access granted, user, United Earth Survival Command. Authorization, Lazarus Protocol. The Vorak technician screamed as every screen in the complex went black. Then, one by one, they rebooted. But the displays weren't showing Federation data anymore. They showed Earth, not the scorched ruin from the archives. A thriving world, gleaming cities stretching across continents, orbital platforms bristling with unfamiliar weapons, and ships, hundreds of them, dark, angular. Their hulls drinking in the light. The junior archivist's voice trembled. Zixlith. What is this? The senior archivist could only stare as the human census entry flickered again. This time, the change stuck. Homo sapiens, status, active, hostile. Then the screens went dark for good. The air in the rusty airlock stank of ozone and something vaguely organic, like fermented algae mixed with engine grease. Captain Elias Vance leaned against the bar, his calloused fingers tracing the rim of his glass. The whiskey inside was Terran, made smuggled halfway across the galaxy. Terrarium gold, the label read. A relic from a homeworld the galaxy thought was dead. Two Krell mercenaries hunched over a nearby table. Their chitinous plates clicking as they laughed. Their voices carried, rough and guttural, cutting through the low hum of the bar's patrons. Heard the latest census update? One sneered, mandibles twitching. Humans Category 7, probably extinct. The other let out a rasping chuckle, slamming a clawed fist on the table. No surprise, fragile things. No FTL, no shields. One good solar flare and poof. He mimed an explosion with his claws. Vance took a slow sip of his whiskey. Letting the burn settle in his chest, he didn't turn, didn't react. Just let the words hang there, like a challenge waiting to be answered. The bartender, a grizzled Tarkian with scarred plating, eyed him warily. You want another? Nah, Vance said, setting the glass down with deliberate calm. I'm good. Then he stood. The movement was smooth, practiced. The kind of motion that came from years of zero-G combat drills and close. Quarters brawls. The Krell didn't notice him at first. Vance stopped just behind them, close enough to smell the acrid scent of their carapace wax. Funny, he said, voice low. Last I checked, extinction's a pretty big claim. The mercenaries stiffened. The first one turned, his compound eyes narrowing as they adjusted to the dim light. Then they widened, human alive. You, the Krell stammered, claws flexing. Vance smirked. Yeah, me. He didn't raise his voice, didn't need to. The bar had gone quiet, the usual hum of conversation replaced by the tense silence of a dozen species, realizing they'd just witnessed something impossible. The second Krell recovered faster, his pride outweighing his shock. One survivor doesn't change the census. Soft skin, your kind's done. Vance tilted his head, considering. Then he reached into his jacket. The Krell tensed, claws unsheathing. But all Vance pulled out was a data chip. He tossed it onto the table between them. Play it. The mercenaries exchanged glances. The first one snatched up the chip, slotting it into his wrist display. A hologram flickered to life above the table, grainy, encrypted footage from a ship's black box. A fleet, Not just any fleet, human ships, dozens of them, sleek and black, their hulls shimmering with the telltale distortion of quantum cloaking. The camera shook as one of the vessels fired, a spinal railgun round tearing through a Zephyrian dreadnought like paper. The footage cut to another scene, a space station, its docking bays swarming with figures in black armor, human marines, moving fast. Efficient, the Krell's mandibles went slack. "That's from 3 days ago," Vance said, retrieving the chip. "We've been busy," the second mercenary found his voice first. "You're lying, that's not possible, the Federation would know." Vance chuckled, sliding the chip back into his pocket. "Would they?" He leaned in, just enough to make the Krell flinch. "See, that's the thing about extinction. You've got to be sure." He turned to leave, but the first Krell lurched to his feet. "You can't just walk away. The Bureau declared it. You're dead." Vance paused at the door, glancing back over his shoulder. "Yeah, and that's the last mistake they'll ever make." Then he stepped out into the neon lit streets of Outpost Sigma. Faye, the bar's stunned silence swallowed by the chaos of the trading hub. Somewhere above him, hidden in the void, the US and Retribution waited. And humanity. They were just getting started. The dim red glow of the Retribution's bridge cast long shadows across the command deck. Admiral Rachel Kessler leaned over the holographic display, her sharp features illuminated by the flickering light of a dozen tactical readouts. The ship hummed around her, the deep thrum of its experimental quantum, drive vibrating through the deck plates. It was a sound no other species had ever heard. Humanity's best-kept secret. Captain Elias Vance strode onto the bridge, his boots clicking against the reinforced alloy floor. He tossed a data crystal onto the display. "You're gonna love this, Admiral." Kessler caught it mid-air, her fingers brushing the activation rune. The hologram flared to life, displaying the Galactic Census Bureau's latest report. Her eyes scanned the text, then stopped dead. A slow, dangerous smile spread across her face. "They think we're extinct. Category 7, Vance confirmed, crossing his arms. Probably wiped ourselves out, fragile little things. Couldn't handle the big galaxy." The bridge crew erupted into laughter. Lieutenant Cho nearly choked on his coffee. Sergeant Reavers slapped his knee hard enough to make his exo-suit servos whine. Only Commander Holt remained stone-faced, his cybernetic eye flickering as he analyzed the report. "This is dated 3 standard cycles ago," he noted. "They've had us listed as dead for months." Kessler tapped her fingers against the display. "And yet here we are, stealth fleet operational, phase shift torpedoes primed, quantum cloak running smooth." She looked up, her grin turning predatory. "They didn't just underestimate us, gentlemen. They forgot us." Vance leaned against the tactical console. "Worse, they erased us. You see the notes? No FTL capability. No planetary defenses, presumed self-termination event." He snorted. "They think we blew ourselves up before we even left Sol." A new voice cut through the chatter. "Admiral." Ensign Park looked up from her comm station, her face pale. "We're getting a priority ping from High Command. They've seen the report." Kessler straightened, patch it through. The main screen flickered, resolving into the grizzled face of General Okafor. His uniform was rumpled, his eyes bloodshot. He'd clearly been awake for days. "Kessler, tell me you've seen this census bullshit." "Oh, we've seen it, sir," Kessler said. "We're having a good laugh about it." Okafor didn't smile. "This isn't funny, Rachel. The entire Federation thinks we're gone. Do you know what that means?" Vance answered before she could. "Means they've stopped looking, stopped guarding their back doors." His fingers danced across the tactical display, pulling up star charts, their comb relays, their data hubs, all wide open. Okafor's expression darkened. "Exactly. And High Command wants to know, do we correct their mistake, or do we use it?" Silence fell across the bridge. Kessler exhaled slowly, her mind racing through possibilities. The Retribution wasn't just a ship, it was the spearhead of an entire shadow fleet, 47 vessels, all quantum, cloaked, all officially lost in action. The Federation had no idea they existed. She made her decision. We use it. Turning to Holt, she snapped. Get me Lieutenant Zhang in Cyber Ops. I want her team prepped in 20. Holt nodded, his fingers already flying across his interface. She is on standby, waiting for your orders. Good. Kessler turned back to Okafor. Sir, with your permission, we're going to remind the galaxy why you never count humans out. Okafor's grin matched hers. Permission granted. And Kessler, he leaned closer to the screen. Make it hurt. The transmission cut out. Kessler spun to face her crew. You heard the man, Vance. Plot a course for Zentha Prime. Holt, wake the fleet. I want all ships battle, ready in 6 hours. Cho, prep the quantum torpedoes, and someone get Zhang up here. We've got a census to correct. Vance was already at the nav console, his hands moving with practiced ease. Course laid in, 8 jumps to Zentha. Their detection grids won't see us coming. Damn right they won't, Kessler muttered. She stared at the holographic report still floating above the display. Humanity probably extinct. She tapped the deletion key. The words dissolved into static. Let's show them just how alive we are. The Retribution's engines roared to life, their deep bass thrum shaking the deck plates. Somewhere in the darkness of space, 47 other ships answered the call. The dead were coming, and the galaxy wasn't ready. The data hub pulsed with streams of light, a towering nexus of information where the fate of species was catalogued and forgotten. Lieutenant Mei Zhang adjusted the neural interface at her temple, feeling the cold sweat trickle down her spine. Around her, the cyber op team moved like ghosts through the Bureau's security grid, their presence undetected for now. Status check, Zhang whispered into her comm. Firewall bypass at Fei, came the reply from Corporal Ravers, his fingers dancing across a holographic keypad. Their encryption's a joke, like they didn't expect anyone to try breaking in. Zhang smirked. The Galactic Census Bureau had grown complacent, its defenses designed to keep out petty hackers and rogue AIs, not a dedicated strike team from a species they'd written off as extinct. The irony wasn't lost on her. A soft chime echoed through the chamber as the final barrier fell. The central database lay open before them, a glittering web of data nodes stretching into the darkness. Zhang stepped forward, her boots silent on the polished floor. All right, people, she said, her voice steady. Time to remind the galaxy we exist. Her team moved with precision, deploying the logic virus they'd spent months perfecting. It slithered into the system, a phantom in the code, rewriting entries and erasing traces of its passage. Zhang watched as humanity's status flickered on the main display, probably extinct category Fei then. Line by line, it changed. Status, active threat assessment, re-evaluating last known activity, unauthorized access detected a warning klaxon blared, red light flooding the chamber, somewhere deep in the Bureau. A security AI had finally noticed the intrusion. Zhang, we've got company, Sergeant Cole barked, his rifle snapping up as a squad of Vexian enforcers rounded the corner. Their carapace armor gleamed under the emergency lights, pulse rifles humming to life. Zhang didn't flinch. Finish the upload, she ordered, her eyes locked on the approaching drones. It'll buy us time. Cole and Reavers worked furiously, their fingers a blur as the virus spread. The system fought back, throwing up firewalls and counter-intrusion protocols. But it was too late. The infection had taken root. Status, active, hostile. The words burned across every screen in the hub. Zhang raised her sidearm and fired. The shot struck the lead enforcer square in its sensory cluster, sending it staggering. The others opened fire, plasma bolts searing the air. She ducked behind a data terminal, the heat of near misses scorching her sleeves. Almost there, Reavers shouted. The virus was replicating now, jumping from node to node, rewriting history in real time. Humanity's entry expanded, filling with new data, warships, colonies, black site operations, all the things the Federation had missed. Then, with a final triumphant pulse, the system updated, Humanity status, active, threat level, elevated. Zhang grinned. That's more like it. The enforcers regrouped, advancing behind a wall of shields. Zhang tapped her comm. Kessler, we're done here. Time to go. A moment later, the entire hub shook as an explosion rocked the Bureau's lower levels. Diversion charges set by their extraction team. The enforcers hesitated, their ranks breaking as alarms wailed. Move, Zhang ordered. Her team fell back, sprinting for the emergency conduit they'd mapped earlier. Behind them, the Bureau's systems spiraled into chaos, alerts blaring across the galaxy as every species received the same terrifying update. Humanity wasn't extinct, and they were pissed. Rivers laughed as they ran, breathless. Think they'll update the census again after this? Zhang didn't answer. She was already thinking ahead to the next mission, the next strike. The galaxy had made a mistake, writing them off. Now it was time to correct that error. Permanently, the Galactic High Council chamber was supposed to be a place of order, a sweeping dome of polished obsidian, where 100 species debated the fate of civilizations under the glow of floating holograms. Today, it was chaos. Alarms shrieked through the air, their frequencies adjusted to be heard by every auditory system in the room. The massive central display flickered erratically, cycling between emergency protocols as the words, Species Status Update, Humanity, Active Hostile, pulsed in crimson. Grand Overseer Vralkek, a towering Zephyrian with armored plates running down his spine, slammed a clawed fist onto the council dais. The impact sent shockwaves through the reinforced material. Explain this. His voice boomed, the subharmonic vibrations making the smaller delegates wince. How did the humans return? Who authorized this update? A Vorak technician, his feathery crest flattened in terror, scrambled forward. Data streams flickered across his wrist display as he tried to stabilize the feed. Sir, the system isn't responding to our overrides. The update didn't come from us. It came from inside the Census Bureau's core. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Zelthian delegate, her bioluminescent frills flaring in agitation, hissed. Impossible. The Bureau's firewalls are impenetrable. No species has ever breached them. Correction, a gravelly voice interjected. Councillor Drog, a battle-scarred Krell mercenary turned diplomat, leaned forward. His 4 eyes narrowed. No species we knew about has breached them. Vralkek's tail lashed. You're suggesting the humans did this? They barely had quantum comms when they vanished. The Vorak technician swallowed hard. Sir, the logs show the update wasn't a correction. It was a trigger. He tapped his display, pulling up a security hologram. The image showed the Bureau's central data spire. And then, for less than a second, a flicker of distortion near its base. Something was already in our systems waiting. Silence. Then the Zelthian delegate whispered what everyone was thinking. They were never gone. The chamber erupted. Arguments overlapped. Translators struggling to keep up. The Tarkelian contingent demanded immediate military mobilization. The gentle Lilithians pleaded for diplomacy. The Krell just laughed. Drog crossed his arms. I told you all, you don't mark a predator extinct unless you've seen the corpse. Vralkek's claws flexed. Enough. The room fell silent. Activate planetary defenses. Scramble the fleet. If the humans are alive, they'll answer to the Council for this deception. As if on cue, the holograms flickered again. The emergency alerts cut out abruptly. In their place, a single transmission resolved. A human face, weathered but grinning. Captain Elias Vance. Grand Overseer, Vance said. His voice calm, almost amused. You really should have checked your sources before writing us off. The feed split. A second image appeared. The Census Bureau's spire. Its crystalline surface reflecting the glow of Zentha Prime's twin suns. Then the sky above it rippled. Shadows condensed into shapes, massive, angular shapes. Vralkek's blood ran cold. No, the USN Retribution decloaked first, its blackened hull swallowing the sunlight, then another and another 40. 7 stealth dreadnoughts, each the size of a battlecruiser, hovering silently over the capital. Vance's grin widened. You declared us extinct. We took offense. The transmission cut. The chamber's screens went dark. Then the first railgun round hit the Bureau's spire. The skies above Zentha Prime shimmered with the usual traffic of 1,000 ships, merchant vessels, diplomatic envoys, the occasional patrol cruiser. The planet's twin suns cast long shadows across the crystalline spires of the Galactic Administrative Corps, where bureaucrats worked in blissful ignorance. Grand Overseer Vralkek stood at the panoramic window of the High Council chamber, his massive Zepyrian frame tense with irritation. The alarms had been blaring for 17 minutes straight. Explain this madness, he roared, slamming a clawed fist onto the holographic display table. The projection flickered, showing the same impossible alert scrolling across every terminal in the building. Humanity status update, active hostile. A Vorak technician, one of the few who hadn't fled the chamber, scrambled to adjust his datapad. The system isn't malfunctioning. Overseer the humans. They've hacked the census, overridden the entire network. Vralkek's crest flared crimson. Impossible. Their technology was primitive. They barely had fusion reactors. The Vorak's voice trembled. Sir, we might have miscalculated. Outside, the sky darkened. Not from clouds, not from an eclipse, from something far worse. A ripple tore through the atmosphere, like a stone dropped into a pond. Then another, and another. The air itself seemed to fracture, revealing sleek, angular shapes materializing from nothing. The USN Retribution hung at the center of the formation, its blackened hull drinking in the sunlight. 47 other ships flanked it, each one a ghost made real, each one bristling with weapons the Federation had no record of. On the bridge of the Retribution, Captain Elias Vance leaned back in his command chair, fingers steepled. The holographic feed from the surface showed the council chamber in chaos. He smiled. Open a channel, planetary broadcast. The comm officer nodded. Live in 321, Vance's voice echoed across every screen, every speaker, every comm device on Zentha Prime. Galactic Federation, he began. You made a mistake, a big one. You looked at our lack of FTL, our primitive colonies, our so-called fragility, and you wrote us off, filed us away as extinct. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. Turns out, we've been busy. Below, Vralkek snarled. This is an act of war. Vance chuckled. No, this is a correction. The Retribution's spinal railgun hummed to life, its magnetic coils charging with a deep, resonant whine. Targeting lasers painted the Census Bureau's central spire, a needle of light and data, the symbol of the Federation's arrogance. You declared us dead, Vance continued, so let's make it official. The railgun fired. The projectile, a tungsten slug the size of a ground car, struck the spire dead center. The impact sent a shockwave rippling through the city. Crystal shattered. Data streams flickered and died. The spire listed, then collapsed in a slow, graceful arc, crushing entire wings of the administrative core beneath it. Alarms wailed. Civilians screamed. The Vorak technician fell to his knees. They were never gone, he whispered. They were watching, waiting. Vralkek staggered to the broken window, staring up at the fleet blotting out the suns. His crest had gone pale. What do they want? As if in answer. The Retribution's secondary batteries powered up. Dozens of turrets swiveling to lock onto key infrastructure. Power grids, defense platforms, government hubs. Vance's voice returned, colder this time. We want our place in your records. Properly this time. A new alert flashed across every surviving screen in the city, updating galactic census entry, species, human status, dominant, threat level, apex. The Retribution's engines flared, bathing the ruins in an eerie blue glow. Next time, Vance said, don't assume. The smoldering ruins of the Galactic Census Bureau's central spire stretched skyward like broken fingers grasping at the smoke, choked air. The once Pristine crystalline floors were now littered with shattered data terminals and the twitching remains of security drones. Captain Elias Vance stepped over the sparking wreckage of a Vorak defense turret, his boots crunching on fractured glass. Around him, human Marines in black combat armor moved with practiced efficiency, securing the area and rounding up dazed alien bureaucrats. Admiral Kessler's voice crackled over his comm. "Status report, Captain." Vance tapped his earpiece. "Bureau's ours, Admiral. Their security put up less fight than a kindergarten class." He kicked aside a smoldering datapad. "You should see their faces, like they're staring at ghosts." A squad of Marines dragged a trembling Zixlith forward. The Vexian's mandibles quivered, his carapace smeared with soot. One of his forearms hung limp, broken during the initial breach. Vance crouched to meet the archivist's compound eyes. "You look surprised." "Impossible," Zixlith hissed. "The Antares conflict. Your fleet was destroyed. Scans confirmed no survivors." Lieutenant Meijang emerged from a nearby terminal bank, her fingers still dancing across a holographic interface. "Funny story about that," she said, smirking. "Turns out when you mark a species extinct, they stop bothering to hide." The central holodisplay flickered to life above them, projecting the revised universal census entry in glowing crimson letters. Humans status dominant. Threat level apex. A collective gasp rippled through the captured alien officials. Grand Overseer Vralkek, his once pristine robes now torn and singed, staggered forward. "This is an outrage. The Federation will—" "The Federation," Vance interrupted, "just learned why you don't pencil in a species death certificate before the body's cold." He nodded to Zhang. "Show them." The lieutenant tapped a command. Every view screen in the chamber lit up with the same image, the USN Retribution hovering over Zentha Prime, its massive railgun trained on the council spire. But it wasn't alone. Dozens of identical stealth dreadnoughts decloaked in perfect formation, their black hulls blotting out the stars. "You had one job," Vance said, stepping closer to Vralkek. "Count us, and you failed." A junior Vorak technician whimpered from the corner. But your technology, your ships, the records showed you barely had warp capability." Zhang laughed. "Oh, we had warp. We just let you think we didn't." She pulled up a classified file, a century-old EarthGov memo stamped Operation Long Con. "Turns out when the galaxy thinks you're harmless, they stop watching. Gives you time to innovate." Vralkek's crest flushed dark purple, the Zephyrian equivalent of blood draining from a face. "All these years you've been hiding your true strength." "Not hiding," Vance corrected. "Waiting." He gestured to the ruined spire around them. "You built this place to track every species in the galaxy, to categorize them, to decide who matters." His grin turned razor sharp. "Today, we're updating your records." Alarms suddenly blared as the Retribution's railgun powered up, its charging sequence painting the sky electric blue. The alien prisoners recoiled, all except Zixlith. The archivist stared at the holographic census entry, his antennae drooping. "We thought you were weak, fragile." Vance unholstered his sidearm, not to fire, but to casually clean it as he spoke. "Funny thing about humans, we've got this saying, speak softly and carry a big stick." He glanced at the armada overhead. "Turns out, when nobody's listening, you build a bigger stick." The railgun reached full charge. The air vibrated with pent-up energy. "Any last revisions to your census?" Vance asked. Zixlith's mandibles clicked once. Defeat. Only this. He reached with his one good arm and manually entered a final edit. "Human status, do not provoke." Vance holstered his weapon. "Better." He turned to leave, then paused at the shattered doorway. "Oh, and archivist. Next time you file a species as extinct." Behind him, the Retribution fired. The beam lanced through the spire's upper levels in a silent flash of annihilation. "Make damn sure they're actually dead."